Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. Or is this your next level wrestling review? We don't know. We don't know what's going on. NXT, TNA, NXTNA, the crossovers. We're just so confused right now. But who are we? I am the V in the VBC, the vet Jamie Williams. I'm tagging my part of this, the hot tag. I'm reaching, and boom, there goes Brandon through the internet. Brandon's coming in cleaning house. Brandon, what's going on?
Yeah, hot tags in, bumping feed spot. We're talking about TNA though. What's up, you guys?
That's right, TNA. That's right, tits and ass. That is what's going on tonight. Not from us. We're not. We're not getting. Well, we'll see. The show's not over yet. We're just getting started. Just getting started.
Going to
But
Pound Town, Booty Hole Brown.
that's right. So yeah, that just leaves the C in the VBC. The chat is rocking and rolling already. We got a couple people in here. Who do we got so far, Brandon?
See who we got chilling with us right now. We got Lisbeth. We got Lab Rat. We got Canada Spaceman. See who else we got. Sure, more will be coming in as the night progresses. Whoop whoop.
All the way back from 9:28 in the morning. I'm Chris Winland. He's getting in early. He's getting in early. And we might as well start because he left us a question on social media. And that question is he says, today's Q&A, what is the purpose of taped fingers, wrist / armbands? Is it more function or fashion? Have always wondered the ring gear practicalities. Also knee elbow pads or not? Okay, well, first part. Taped fingers and wrists and everything, that's athletic function. I mean, you have athletes tape their body parts all the time. The reason why, it's to prevent things like sprains, is to give more stability. So let's say if you tape your wrist, it's going to be harder for it to bend backwards if you're in an awkward angle if you're doing it right. Same thing with fingers. If your finger joints or whatever, you could bend your finger backwards like so, but if it's taped, it's not going to move. So you have less of a chance of inflicting harm. I believe Brandon was making a razor blade motion across his head. That is because sometimes you can, if you are making a blade for your match, then you can hide it in your wrist tape. You can put you could tape over it. You could put a piece of tape over your wrist tape to hide the blade and then get it out. Other people prefer to have the referee just hand it to them or something later, or they could have it hidden somewhere else in the ring. And a few psychos even like to carry the blade in their mouth under their tongue, which I don't know why anybody would ever done that, especially with what we're going to talk about later on with a weird injury that happened.
And especially, and the guy who, one guy who famously kept it under his tongue is a guy you wouldn't think would do that.
That's right. So, that is a bonus feature of having wrist tape. But I mean, I would say first and foremost, it's just for protection, just like any football player, baseball player, anybody that would do that. I used to tape just like a band around the wrists, just to protect it from, just to stabilize it. Not much else though. What about you, Brandon?
I mean, I never really knew the reasoning for it. I just knew that there was one, so I thought, okay, it might add to my look, and that's why I did it.
I guess some people just did it for looks. They did it for looks after all. I mean, it does add another just like one more element to your presentation. But it's first and foremost for safety.
Right. Like, I never knew the specific reason, but I've seen real fighters use it, so I knew that there was at least some reason or purpose why they did it. I just never knew specifically what it was.
Yeah. Boxers use copious amounts of athletic tape to tape their hands so that they don't break their fingers when they punch. Because even with the glove padding and stuff like that, it's still uh, it's very hard on your hands. And that's why, you know, even if you use like those like home boxing like workout, you know, like if you have like a heavy bag at home or things like that, you still wrap up your wrists and put stuff on under the gloves to protect your fingers.
Yeah, it's, all it takes is like one fraction of a degree with enough pressure in the wrong direction, and then all of a sudden you got a broken hand or a broken finger.
Yes, the hand bones are more susceptible. They're a lot smaller, and they're more susceptible to breaking. Now as for elbow pads and knee pads for me, I didn't use elbow pads per se. Actually, I had some. I didn't always wear them. Um, I always wore like neoprene sleeves, like something that, you know, you would see like a basketball player wear on their elbow. I wore those for two reasons. Number one, um, because of tendonitis. I would get bad tendonitis in my elbows in that area, and so it would keep them warm. Two, uh, to protect from mat burns, because when you get up off the mat, there's a certain way you're supposed to do it. And if you notice, if you look at any wrestler that wrestles without any elbow pads or elbow covering, if you look on like the inside part, if you look on the inside part of their elbow, just watch any wrestler that doesn't wear pads right there and look at that part. There's usually like a scab there. There's usually like a big scab there, and which is like a worn down callus, and the callus gets worn down and re-scabbed over. That's because when you get knocked down and you get up off the mat, they teach you to plant your elbow and then get up off the elbow. And necessarily that causes a certain amount of friction with the canvas. So I didn't want to have, you know, my elbows get scraped up. Or even things like taking a turnbuckle, sometimes like taking a front turnbuckle. You put your arms under the turnbuckle as you come in, and the ropes can scrape against your arms. So I like that. I didn't need the pad for anything. But the elbow pads are just kind of, I think they can be for safety, like if you like to drop elbows and stuff. But I think mostly they're also for aesthetic purposes. Knee pads, though, I mean, anytime you take a bump on your knees, fuck, any of those old school wrestlers that don't, you know, old school wrestlers that don't wear the knee pads, fuck that. I'm wearing a knee pad because you only get one set of knees, and when they're gone, they're gone. Even if you get them replaced, you don't get like the cartilage and other things back. So, yeah, not a fan of taking bumps on my knees. Did you wear knee pads, elbow pads, those kind of things?
I did both, and I always mainly wore the elbow pads because you know how you take a back bump. I didn't want to,
Yeah,
I didn't want to ever pop them out. So
yeah,
basically, everything else is kind of covered after that.
right. When you hit the mat, you take the back bump, you slap out on the mat, and there you go. So, so yeah. So that's a good question from Chris. Thank you for the question. Hopefully that answer was satisfactory. I think it's a pretty great answer. I think it's probably the most in-depth answer anybody would ever give on a wrestling podcast. But that is that question. Now,
Never wore ear pads.
never wear ear pads. Yeah, I'm wearing ear pads right now. The better to hear you with, my dear. So, in any case, any news or goings on in the world of wrestling besides all these interpromotional crossover events?
Man, unless I've been under a rock, I haven't really heard much outside of the stuff that's kind of relevant to our show.
Yeah, I don't think anything major happened. You know, some discussion about Ricochet's contract being up. Supposedly this is his last night on Raw tonight, or this is his last Raw tonight. And then he's out of there. So,
and I can see Tony Khan scooping him up quickly.
Oh, he absolutely will. He absolutely.
Yeah, pal.
Unless for some strange reason Ricochet specifically doesn't want to work at AEW, then he's going there. Tony will make him an offer.
And I think Ricochet knows, like, hey, I can go over here to AEW, do what I want, and make a ton of money doing it.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like it's not just a case of him trying to use the market to get WWE to pony up anymore. I think he just doesn't want to be there anymore. I don't think it's the place for him, or I think he's seen his ceiling at this point, which is a shame because I saw a lot higher ceiling for him, as I've mentioned on multiple occasions for multiple years. I've always seen main event superstar in Ricochet, but I guess they didn't see it, so he's just kind of been where he's at. But he'll be fun to watch wherever he goes, and I wish him the best. And let's see, other than him, I really don't think there's anything major. We will probably have a in-depth, we'll certainly have an in-depth review of NXT Battleground on Next Level Wrestling Review this Wednesday, so please stay tuned for that with Big Ray and myself. But we could talk a little bit about it now because we had the TNA Knockouts champion there trying to win another belt, and that's Jordynne Grace, of course. Dark Roxanne was the NXT Women's Champion. Jordynne didn't get the job done, but for interesting reasons. So we may not have seen the last of her there, but we also may further some business over back in the home country of TNA. So, Brandon, what did you think of the match overall, and what did you think of the shenanigans and the business?
I thought the match overall itself was decent. That both women did a great job. As much as I would have liked to see them pull the trigger and flip the belt, because I really think both sides had everything to gain and nothing to lose in that. But that's just, my opinion. But I can't say I hated the finish. I still liked the finish because it keeps the door open for the story and the collaboration to keep going.
That's right. And to be honest, none of the well, why would I lie about this? I guess the correct phrasing would be the truth is they can really, it doesn't have to be limited to NXT. It's like, well, now that the door has been opened, everybody knows that NXT exists in the WWE universe. So all that anybody has to see, and plus Jordynne Grace showing up at the Royal Rumble that's actually what really kicked off things. So it's, whoever shows up next doesn't necessarily have to be in NXT. It could be on Raw, they could be on SmackDown, they could be on anything. We might have the first ever cooperative invasion that we've ever seen, perhaps.
At the very least, on a mainstream level, I think there was that CZW or Ring of Honor one.
Well, yes, I guess there was that. But anyway, it's just, lots of possibilities. The match itself was kind of I thought it was the best match on the show, easily. I've definitely been a proponent of Roxanne. I mean, I've seen lots of Jordynne Grace matches. They aren't this good, so I'm gonna give her the credit for that. Roxanne, that is. And I really liked it, and I thought it was nice the way, it was a surprise to have Ash show up, even though, she's spent a lot of time in NXT in the past herself. So it made sense, but it also, continuing the angles that they're doing on Impact. So
Well,
that's good too.
well, what led to the finish too was what's her name, Tatum Paxley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she hopped the guardrail, and it looked like she was going to steal the NXT Women's title, but she grabs the TNA Knockouts title instead. So that makes me think that's going to be who answers Jordan Grace's challenge at Against All Odds.
Right, which is weird because that's like, you know, it's not gonna get anybody too excited. No offense to Dark Tatum Paxley, even though, or I call her Paxum Tately because Liz did once and that was funny. So from then on, she has been known as Paxum Tately. Yeah, that would be like for the TNA people, that would be like a really lame surprise because she's kind of a very secondary character even on NXT. But I think you're right. I think that makes the most sense. So
one guy I do think we're going to see crossover at some point is Joe Hendry. Because remember at one point during the match when the crowd starts chanting "We Believe."
Oh yeah, that he makes the most sense. Joe Hendry's been preparing for a WWE career ever since he's been wrestling. Like he's trying to fit his goofy shtick into the kind of stuff that they would like to do. You know, that was their like sense of humor, and they love those like. Well, at least the previous regime did love those like backstage foolishness. So everything he did seemed like it was geared towards a WWE career, and it could still happen. So yeah, I think he's a pretty good choice for a crossover. And Moose, of course. But yeah, so yeah, good stuff in the match, except for there's bad stuff in the match too, because as Jordan Grace posted, I guess on Twitter, she posted a picture of her ear, which had the earring in it ripped out during the match, apparently, at some point. And yeah, so she's mutilated now. And she says in the post that she's retiring her earrings from in-ring competition. Which, if you want to talk about, you know, old school wrestlers, they're going to tell you you're a fucking moron and you're lucky that you lasted this long without getting them ripped off, because you should always remove your jewelry before you get in the ring. For exactly this reason. And it's funny because when I was reading the article about it, it was saying like it appears to have been a fluke that it got caught on Roxanne's gear or something like that. It's like, yes, a fluke, because she's not going to rip it out for real. Of course it's a fluke. It's always going to be a fluke when an accident like this happens, unless, you know, this is like anything before the 1990s or whatever, and when somebody, you disrespect a veteran by wearing jewelry into the ring and then they're going to rip it out for a shoot, then yes, it's going to be a fluke. But it doesn't matter whether it's a fluke or not. The injury's real, and you know, now you got to deal with that. Nothing's ever a problem until it is. You know, you have to be proactive in looking towards like all the things that could happen in a ring, freak accidents or otherwise. Even the stuff you do 1,000 times, if you do it that 1,001st time and just anything else is different, it could be the difference between, you know, landing safely and being paralyzed. We've seen people get paralyzed. We've seen everything basically in a wrestling ring. People have died in a wrestling ring. This is just, you know, it's unfortunate, but you have to think about that kind of stuff. Furthermore, just what I always say is like, if you were in a fight with somebody that had like let's say like an earring or something that you could grab onto, it's real easy to just grab it and tear it out. So why wouldn't I? If anybody did wear jewelry in a match with me, I would tell them not to do it. And then if they did it, I'd say, okay, if you're going to do it, then I'm going to go after it. So you're going to have to protect yourself the whole time. Like, I'm not going to really rip it out, but at least I have to let the audience see me try to rip it out. You know, like I have to let them think about it.
Right. Because what wrestler would see that and their opponent and go, that's an easy target. I'm going for it.
Yeah, it's shiny, you know, it's dangling. It's basically like saying, please grab me, grab me. So,
I mean, at least, Orton and Jeff Hardy figured out how to work it into a spot.
Yeah. And then it looks stupid that that's all they did. Oh, I'll just turn it around. Here I have a screwdriver. I'll just use it to turn your ear around. Maybe why don't I just stab you in the eye? That'd be, while we're at it. That's a whole other conversation. So the point is, Jordan learned a lesson. And she learned it the hard way, which is the only way some people ever learn. So there you go. And other than that, I don't think there's anything else to talk about in terms of NXT Battleground. I don't think.
Nah, not a whole lot. Except they went to Pound Town with Booty Hole Brown.
Yeah. Yeah, they sure did. When I look back over my Battleground notes, everything involving Sexy Red had the word twerk in it. So please look forward to a twerk review on Next Level on Wednesday. But right now, you can look forward to a TNA Impact review with us. We're going to review this episode of Impact, and we're going to get right to it because you guys deserve it. Well, we're going to start with our traditional Heinz ketchup package. Tasty. See what we have. Okay, all right. What do we have there?
It's not Heinz, but it's not Hunt's though.
Oh, well, as long as it's not Hunt's. Shout outs to Media Mike. He's the only person on earth who ever admitted to liking Hunt's ketchup. And yet they're still around for some reason. I don't know why they haven't gone out of business. This is the 20th anniversary of Impact Wrestling. The TV show, I guess. Obviously, TNA's been around a little longer. So what that means is they did 2 years of pay-per-view Asylum shows where they just called it TNA Wrestling, I guess. I don't remember. Does that sound right?
I think it was NWA TNA, like number whatever.
Well, yeah, so it's been Impact Wrestling for 20 years, and this is the 20th anniversary, I guess. And what better way to celebrate the 20th anniversary of TNA Wrestling than with Khan versus Jake something to kick us off? Yeah, so these guys have a match. I'm sorry. Yeah, forgive my dismissal, but like when Khan shows up now, it's just like nothing against the guy personally, but I can't be invested in any kind of way. He's dead. It's over. Like there's no reason for this guy to be here anymore. There's no use for him. He's just a guy. Jake something gets a win. Into the void indeed. Khan's career is into the void now. It's just gone. It's in a black hole. There's nothing left. It's over. And it's like so he takes the guy's finish, right? And then he gets back up. He does the same get your heat back that you would do if you got rolled up or something. He takes a finish and then gets back up and just kicks his ass.
He kicked out right after 3.
Yeah, that's the old 3.1 kick out. And just gets up and kicks his ass. Like, well, if it was that easy, why were you getting beat? I don't understand this at all. There's no psychology there. If it's the finish can hold you down for 3, that's it. I'm sorry. There's no reason for you to get up and then the guy that just beat you just be completely helpless against you. I hate this booking. It's lazy. It's rotten. It's compensatory. It's like you're telling the guy, well, like, we're going to have you lose, but don't worry. You get to end on top, I guess. But they don't even do that this time, because here comes Eric Young. And Eric Young, for no reason, in his gear, just comes out and he saves Khan from getting his neck snapped. Only problem is it's late. So Khan has to hold Jake Something's head and just wait for Eric Young to show up rather than just snap it, because they got to hit his music and then he's got to come out. Like, there was nothing stopping him from doing it. He could have just done it. His move that in a movie it would kill somebody, but in wrestling it just hurts him a little bit. And then Eric Young beats him up, runs him off, and then he gets on the mic and cuts a pandering promo to the audience about, like, thanking them for all their support for 20 years of TNA. It's just like, this is the worst shit I've seen TNA do outside of all the other worst shit that they do. This is the worst shit I've ever seen them do at the beginning of this episode. I could not. That
was bad. That was bad.
We're gonna have to rewrite this. We're gonna have to punch this up. How about okay, I'll do the punch up Impact for this part, Brandon, if you don't mind, if it's okay.
Take it away.
All right, here's this. Khan comes out for his match. Jake Something comes out. Ding, ding, ding. This takes 30 seconds. He hits him with his finish, and Khan gets stretchered out. His back is broken now. Into the Void broke his spine, and he gets carried out, and that's the end of this segment. How about that? That's perfect. And then we'll never see this guy again. He's released. He can start fresh somewhere else, perhaps MLW, perhaps NWA. They like big guys in NWA. When they're not using very, very small guys in NWA, they like big guys too. So maybe he'll fit in the big guy half of that roster. Anywhere but here. There's no more use for Khan. He's dead. It's over. Goodbye. He's deader than PCO, who killed him in the first place. That's my new punching up. Any notes?
No, I agree. I mean, they pretty much completely expended all of his equity they built up for any that he had. Like,
yeah, whatever that was. There's
none there for him in TNA. He needs to go to a different territory.
Yep.
As they'd say.
As they say. Go somewhere, learn a new hold. or take 2 weeks off and quit the business. Whatever you want to do. There's a lot of entrepreneurship that comes out of pro wrestling these days. So just do the convention circuit. Hey, I was the guy that used to be in. I was one half of the longest reigning NXT tag team champions. $50 for an autograph picture. Maybe that. And again, I have nothing personal against the guy. I feel really bad actually that he got treated this way. But everybody else in that company use this. Look at this as a cautionary tale, right? This is how you completely devalue somebody's entire career. So,
yeah, I mean they hurt his stock so bad there.
And I don't know exactly, without knowing the specifics, I couldn't tell you what he could have done differently. I mean, if he would have said no to a lot of this stuff, first of all, I don't know if he had the wherewithal to realize what this was going to do to him, everything that he was told to do. I don't know if he just went along with it thinking like, let's just get through this week. Or if he really thought it was going to go somewhere. And I don't know, but if he had refused to do some of it, that could have been, they might have just taken him off TV and just not used him or whatever. So he probably just was getting his money as much as he could and just hoping the TV time was going to be better than nothing, which in this case is one of probably the rare cases where it probably wasn't. It was probably been better to not be on TV doing this. Good thing it's TNA and nobody watched it, which is another thing we didn't really talk about. in terms of, with the Jordan Grace crossover, one of the things I saw was that there was no significant increase in like TNA's TV ratings, which I don't look at as necessarily as bad as it sounds, because I also don't believe TNA is a TV, like the Access TV probably accounts for almost none of their business. Of course, Access TV would like more people to watch their channel, but there's absolutely no way that TNA is going to ever get more viewers on Access TV. The only way TNA could get more viewers on Access TV is if Access TV as a station raises its profile, like amongst carriers. Like more providers would have to carry Access TV, and then they would have to like up their game in terms of like, visibility, because I can't even watch Access TV, and I have Xfinity Comcast. It's the biggest service provider in the world. If you're not on, if you can't be on Xfinity, then what good are you? So there's no way anybody's going to watch Access TV. TNA is basically an internet company now. They get a lot of their stuff from YouTube, their YouTube memberships and stuff like that, that people can pay the $5 a month or whatever it costs, to be able to watch like the pay-per-views and stuff on YouTube and any of the other revenue streams that they have. But they're not going to just because somebody shows up on an NXT program, which has, probably like 8 times the viewership that they're getting cable wise. That doesn't mean everybody's just going to immediately go to Access TV. A lot of them probably couldn't watch it even if they wanted to. So there's no way they can raise their cable visibility unless Access TV makes the move. And if I've said enough on that, then we can go to Frankie Kazarian, the king of TNA. He's with Gia and No Music Underneath.
Did not
he's
know
interrupted.
That. That's interesting.
Oh, what's this? You can read that out, Brandon, if you want.
Did you know? Combine honey and peanut butter and it tastes like Reese's Pieces.
All right. Well, Canada Spaceman with the hot honey tip. What if you combine in peanut butter with hot honey? Spicy Reese's Pieces. Reese's Spices. So Frankie's interrupted by the whole system. Like they all come in and interrupt him one at a time. They all take turns interrupting Frankie. And Frankie Kazarian says, he basically tells Moose, hey, I want that thing, pointing at the title. And then Moose says, if you take care of our Nick Nemeth problem, then you can absolutely have a shot at the title. And that's where we leave it. So, early Moose sighting. Making deals. All right, then we get Steph DeLander with Gia and No Music Underneath. And then she's still holding, like, I guess she's been carrying this homemade Valentine card from PCO all week, and the rose probably. And she's still there. Just brought him to the interview. So did she just pack that in with her gear? Like, well, guess I'll take this to the next town or whatever. But then Zaya Brookside comes in and tells Steph that she needs to take a week to think about whether she's gonna, because the card has like the, PCO yes or no, but it says oui or non, like in French. So like she has to circle one, I guess, because this is elementary school. So
well, to be fair to PCO, he doesn't really have that high of an emotional intelligence.
Right. The corpse parts that he was sewn together were all children, which is why he's so big. Or maybe he just got a child's brain, and the body parts are all from adults. But in any case, Zaya tells her, don't decide now. Take another week to think it over. I don't know how to break this to Miss Brookside, but it's already been a week. This would now be 2 weeks. So take another week? I don't know. Please consider. You have to consider. Brandon, are you considering rewriting this for Punch?
Maybe we'll think of something. Maybe, who knows?
All right, we'll think of something. We'll think of oh, here's something. Giselle Shaw, the babyface edition, is here. She's here. She's back. She's taking on Shazza McKenzie. I remember Shazza McKenzie from stuff. Like those other places. Pretty sure she was on AEW before and probably NWA and Shazza. Gail's watching intently and picture in picture. She's, ooh, God, I hope Giselle doesn't be a dirty heel. I don't know what is she like? What does she want? What is she doing? What's she doing when she wants it? Anyway, Giselle's not a dirty heel. In fact, she's a pandering baby face. She's actually telling the crowd, come on. Like, cringe. Anyway, she hits her finish on Shazza and 1, 2, 3. Any thoughts? This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted, Brandon.
It definitely felt more natural than than the heel character. That I could definitely notice that right away. But it also feels like, okay, I kind of gotta feel this out and get used to it.
I'm surprised they didn't do any of those things like where she was like, had an opportunity to like choke her on the rope or something. Like, I don't know, should I?
that actually might have been better, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then you can see Gail Kim disappointed, picture in picture. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. There's things you can do here, and they didn't do any of them. But hey, she said, "Come on!" So,
what if they done something where Giselle has multiple options to cheat, doesn't take them, and then Shazza starts cheating, and it gets to a point where it's like, okay, now I'm gonna do something dirty to you for everything dirty you did to me.
Yep, that's good. It's just not a good spot for Shazza. That's got to be for somebody else, right. Like say, Tasha Steelz. Right? See, yeah, right. All right. Or what about Rosemary? Because she's got a vignette.
That's where I see this kind of heading. I see it going with Rosemary Giselle.
Is it a hat on a hat to say dark Rosemary? Because she was already kind of dark. But I mean, if she's going a little more dark, then can I say Rosemary. Dark Rosemary? And she should team up with Jonathan Gresham, create a new faction. But anyway, yeah, she had a vignette here. She's kind of going back over her past and maybe her future. We saw flashes of Havoc. We saw flashes of Father James Mitchell. A lot of darkness. But yeah, what'd you think of the vignette?
No, I liked it. She's always been a fantastic performer in these what am I trying to say? What's the word I'm looking for? Scenarios in these vignettes. She's always knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Rosemary. It's not her that I have the problem with usually. Oh, next, Burt Macklin, FBI, not to be confused with the full-blooded Italians, the actual FBI. He recruits Mike Santana to take on the Rascals, like a true recruiter. Mike Santana is going to enlist for a one-time only sortie, I guess. There's really nothing to elaborate on, I guess. I don't know. It's like we already knew this was going to happen. Like we saw it coming. Weird, the strange bedfellows storylines. Oh, can I trust my partner? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. They're just not really there's not much flavor to this particular version of it right at the moment. Maybe they'll add some seasoning and some flavor with the match itself whenever that happens, but for now, nothing really to talk about. We can talk about Campaign Singh and Mustafa Ali taking on Seven Ball. Now, one of the most popular phrases in Punching Up Impact is a condensed version. It's a phrase that Brandon has pioneered. Condensed version. It's like a can of condensed milk. You take all this milk and you put it in this tiny little can. And this fucking match, if ever there needed to be a condensed version of a match, it was this. This went on for the length of a night of WrestleMania. I could not believe how long this was. And when I was done looking at the clock, I realized another thing. I had been watching it in 2 times speed. So it was twice as long as it felt like it was. Holy shit. What happened? Why? Why this? There was this needed to be 4.5 minutes tops to get over what they needed to get over in here.
One of the big things I did with the Punching Up is I cut a lot of matches down and put more people on the show.
Well, technically there was enough bodies out here. There was only like 20 people around the ring at any given time, but that's still, they were all Secret Service and other things. I just, like, this was like a main event in like the middle of the show, and it was not main event worthy. Like, the match wasn't good. I'm not saying that they fucked up or anything. I'm just saying, like, there's no reason for an epic, 2 out of 3 falls tag team match. Not that it was 2 out of 3 falls, it was 1 fall, and you already knew who was taking the fall. That's part of what sucks about the whole thing, is when you already know. There's the only reason, like, one of these things is not like the others. Campaign Singh just doesn't belong. He hasn't been here for like 6 months, and he shows up now to take the pin in a team of a guy that says he ain't doing no jobs. So I wonder who's winning. It's a song I just wrote. It's called Condensed Version. Oh
yeah, we're condensing that.
Yeah, we're condensing. Okay. Birminghammer. If anybody cares how Campaign Singh died in this, it was the Birminghammer. He got Birminghammered. Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the match or itself, or critiques, or perhaps?
Why was this match this long? Why did this take so much time? When there was nothing to it, nothing on the line. You could have gotten, like you said, could have gotten that business done in 4 minutes.
Yes. And if it were live TV, I could understand, because then it could be a thing of like, oh shit, we had a match for later and this person got hurt, so we have to pull time in this match now or something. I still wouldn't have chose this match to do it, but I'm just saying, like, I could see how that would happen. But in a taped show, you could re-edit your show around anything that needed to, to go on. You don't have to extend a match.
Right, or you can shoot a backstage promo, shoot a vignette, shoot something.
Right. Throw in extra packages, whatever. Like, I'm not saying I want to watch extra packages either. But like in a scenario where I'm watching your show and I have to review it, if it's a package, I could skip it, because since I review the show, I've seen everything that's in the package when it originally happened, so I can just pass that up. Whereas in this match, I have to watch it in case anything happens that I have to comment on.
Check out this package, pal. Stand back. Got him. Fucked him.
Yes. No, just if you'll just sign this right here. If that would just
Put that in there with the other NDAs, pal.
yeah. Throw it in the pile. Oh wait. No, the other pile. All right. Concierge introduces Ash by Elegance. She's back from her emergency minor dental surgery to be ringside for Allison Kay with Marty Bell versus Jordan Grace with nobody. So these ladies have a match. Unless I missed it, which is possible. It certainly didn't happen at the end. Maybe it happened earlier. I didn't really see any shenanigans. So Marty was out there for nothing. Ash was out there for nothing. Jordan just beats Allison Kay 1, 2, 3 with the Juggernaut driver. So you wasted 2 heels. I don't know. Did I miss something? Even this could have even got added to this from the tag team match earlier. Not that it needed it particularly either. But I just think that if you have people out there should be some reason. And so I didn't see a reason. Did I miss the reason?
No, I mean, here's a quick fix for that. A quick little punch up. You have Marty Bell cheat and interfere. Jordan Grace goes over clean. She lays both girls out. And you have Ash by Elegance watching the entire time on the stage. And the concierge says, gets on the mic and says, she'll be watching your match this Sunday closely.
Yeah, that's one thing. You know what I would have done? I would have had Marty Bell get ejected for cheating. And then, while the referee is ejecting her, then Ash jumps up and then she tries to cheat. And then the ref catches her, and then Allison Kay gets, distracted by her catching Ash by Elegance, and then Jordan Grace can beat Allison Kay. Or she could try to cheat for Allison Kay and hit Allison Kay, and then the referee turns around, sees Ash, so you get out of here. And then as Allison Kay staggering from Ash's, knockout jewel punch or whatever, then Jordan can hit her with the finish or whatever. But anything to just, if you have people out there, there's really no reason not to involve them. It just makes everybody look dumb. Like, well, you just sat out here and watched your partner lose.
Right.
Great job.
Yeah, if you're not going to do anything, why are you out there?
Right. You can do that if you're a babyface. You're out there for emotional support for your partner. You're out there to provide counsel and make sure nobody runs in and does cheat. So if a babyface is out there and doesn't do anything, that's fine. But if you're a heel, gotta cheat. So I don't know why I'm explaining basics of wrestling to an entire wrestling promotion. It's a little backwards, I think. They should be showing me things and me saying, oh, I like how TNA has really implemented this thing. I never thought of it that way before. Great creative minds over at TNA. That's what it should be like, I think. Instead, it's like we're sitting here. Like you and I are both, you do a whole thing where you tell them what else to do. I am sitting here providing on the spot the stuff I didn't think about. Like when I'm watching this, it's not like all the stuff I say on Impact Attack is stuff that I thought about after I watched the episode. I thought about it as I was recounting it. Like I didn't write that part down. The stuff, the punch ups that I do, I didn't write those down. I just thought of them as I was saying it. But they have like an entire month of footage to like put together and script out and shoot. It's a little weird, I think.
And that part blows my mind. They have so much time to get all that together, laid out and formatted and ready to like shoot and produce and put together in order, and they don't utilize it. Unless there's some kind of factors that we're not aware of. That's really all I can think of.
It has to be something like that. I mean, come on. They got a guy that bet on himself there. He could be pointing out all these things. Well, I tell you who's not giving them any ideas whatsoever in terms of like how to do things correctly or make the show better, and that's Sammy Callahan. So we got another episode of DMTV, and it was a lot of foolishness, but I think what happened was that he challenged Jonathan Gresham to a match at Against All Odds. I think that's what I got out of that whole mess that he did. Is that what you got out of the mess that he did?
That, and apparently he also likes sushi.
Well, who doesn't? Well, actually, probably lots of people don't. But they should. It's delicious. Well, here's a guy that probably eats a lot of sushi. AJ Francis of, what is their group called? First Class? All right. He, for whatever reason, gets a digital media championship match because he punched Laredo Kid in the face. More accurately, forearmed him in the face in the previous week's episode. So all you got to do, think about all the hoops people have to jump through to get a title match in this place. And all you got to do is forearm a guy during an interview. That's all you got to do. And then you get a title match. So he's actually smarter than us all.
To be fair to Hannafan, he at least tried to cover a little bit by saying that Laredo Kid's keeping up the tradition that Crazy Steve started with. Anytime I'm wrestling, the title's on the line.
Well, that's perfectly all right. Yeah. So these guys have a match. Now, this is a title match. Of course, it doesn't go anywhere as long as that tag team match, which you could understand. You want to try to protect AJ Francis because the longer he's out there, the more opportunities for things to go wrong, even though he hasn't really done anything wrong in the ring. In TNA, anyway. That Joe Hendry could write a song about. But he, they have like a kind of a short match, and then unceremoniously somewhat, he just chokeslams Laredo Kid and pins him, and he's the new digital media champion. It was a little ceremonious. Like he reversed a Hurricane Rana, picked him up into a power bomb, and then chokeslammed him from the power bomb position. So a little bit of ceremony, but it did just kind of like, I didn't feel like it was built to in any kind of way. I think he just won. So it was a little flat, but he won. This is his first championship in wrestling. Congratulations to AJ Francis. He is no longer old Cheez-It champion. He is the digital media champion. Did I cut out during any of that?
A little bit, but we heard you.
Okay. All right. So, and on top of that, Brandon, he gets a whopping 40 seconds of TV time to celebrate his title win. Like, he gets almost 3/4 of a minute to celebrate after winning this belt. Meanwhile, we had to sit and watch an Iron Man match with Campaign Sing.
TNA, TNA, TNA.
So what'd you think? Laredo Kid. Tough luck, kid. Tough luck, pal.
Yeah, the fact that they had actually been trying to build him and give him more character and actually made his title win mean something and built to it a little bit. And then they just kind of flushed that all, which could have possibly been by design to kind of build him up, just to kind of feed him to AJ to help build him up.
I have to ask, did something happen to Steve?
Yeah, where's he been?
Because if they only got the belt off of Steve because of some reason, like an injury or, maybe some other outside non-wrestling reason that he had to step away, because it didn't seem like it seemed like giving the belt to Laredo Kid was a half-hearted effort in and of itself, and it was almost like they only just did it to transition to this, but they didn't get anything out of any of it, I don't think.
No.
But so I'm just wondering if he was just like the stepping stone for AJ, because Steve had to drop it suddenly, or he had to drop it suddenly and they just didn't want to give it straight to AJ Francis. So, maybe that's why this happened.
And any of those are possible.
All right. Well, he got 40 seconds to celebrate. So, then we get a package about Jordan Grace and Dark Roxanne. We got a little, in case you haven't been watching, we get a video recap of that, and then we get the main event. And the main event is the King of TNA, Mr. Bet on himself, Frankie Kazarian, versus Dolph, the Wanted Man, Nick Nemeth Ziggler. And now I already sent you one piece of footage from this match earlier in the day. And if you just take several hundred incidents like that over the course of many years, I think that can help you to kind of understand why I just don't care about this man at all. like really at all, because I just he shatters he ruins my immersion every time. Like I'm trying to suspend my disbelief and watch a wrestling match, and he's out there just like doing something that exposes the business or whatever. And I just so if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, there was a spot where he gets launched over the ring post and lands on the floor. So that's quite a fall. That's like maybe 8 feet probably altogether, considering 8 or 9 feet, considering his jumping height. He jumps over the ropes, falls down all the way to the concrete floor, and he's on the floor rolling around and selling, and the camera's, shooting him selling, and then he just reaches back and just like, he pulls up his trunks, which, first of all, even if your trunks were down, which they weren't, they wouldn't have been down far enough for you to like have your ass crack exposed or something. And furthermore, you're laying on your back. So even if your ass crack was exposed, nobody could see it. But rather than sell the fact that you just got dumped on the floor from like the height of a ceiling, you felt the need to pull your pants up. Like that was your instinct, was to pull your pants up that weren't down. I rest my case. He does hit the danger zone and get the win on Mr. Bet on himself. He bet on himself to come to TNA and lose to, WWE cast-offs. And then the system comes in. Rather than Frankie just getting up and kicking his ass like Khan did, the whole system comes in and beats him up.
And Frankie just vanishes.
Yeah, Frankie's gone. He's like, this is none of my business. And, well, now you could just say, like, in fairness to Frankie, you could say he's selling the fact that he just took a guy's finish and he's like out of it now, unlike Khan. All right. So Frankie gets out, and then everybody beats everybody up. And then Ryan Nemeth comes out and tries to save, and then Moose shuts him down. And then he hits spears on both the brothers, and everybody beats these guys up. And then Joe Hendry music hits, and he runs down and he starts cleaning house. But then he gets hit in the spine with Kendra, and that shuts everything down. And unlike the usual spot where a man doesn't sell anything a woman does, he actually sold the Kendra shot, and then he took a bunch of more finishers from the guys. The guys finished all over Joe Hendry. Yeah, pal. Sign this.
Yeah, pal. I call this one the Moose.
The Moose. Right. And then, as they're finishing on Joe Hendry, a video comes on the screen. This is getting good. A video finishing. But it's just Matt Hardy doing a terrible promo, where he invites the system. I believe he was inviting him to the Hardy compound, but it cut off. My feed cut off, and it actually just, I didn't hear what the rest of it was that he said. Did he in fact invite them to the Hardy compound?
That's pretty. Yeah, mine cut off around that time too. But yeah, that was pretty much what he was saying. Like he said, "Hey, come check out my family," and he introduced like basically the camera panned back, and there's everybody.
Oh my god, dude! It cut off because that fucking tag match went long. You didn't even leave enough time for the final, the main event business.
That's literally some WCW shit.
We gotta go. Good night. We didn't even get that. It was just Matt Hardy saying, "I invite you to." That's it. That's the end. End of the show. And it wasn't on purpose either. Trust me. Like, we've seen what happens when they try to do abrupt endings on purpose in wrestling. We know what that looks like. This was not that. This was literally Access TV was like, you fucked up. That tag match went too long. That tag match cut into AJ Francis' championship celebration and the final promo. I wasn't kidding when I told you this match was long. This is, for a 20th anniversary episode, this was one of the biggest jokes I think that TNA has ever put on from a certain technical standpoint, at least. Like, in terms of like the formatting and the time management and everything. And it's again, there's no excuse. It's a taped show. There's nothing live about it. It's deader than PCO. It's deader than Khan's career. It's dead. It's taped. You can have it be any length you want, and it still didn't apparently fit the formatted time. Unless, I mean, I don't know. Did anybody see this episode, and did it finish where you guys watched it? I don't know. Maybe we just watched the unfinished version, but there doesn't seem to be any excuse for this.
This kind of reminded me of, remember the 1000th episode of Impact? They opened it with a 30-minute cavalcade of every woman having coming out with their music and entrance, and it's like a 30-minute talking segment.
That's right. Women's Day Parade. Wow. I'm never ceased to be amazed by TNA. There's always something that you could say, well, haven't seen that before, or haven't seen that in a while, but it's never the kind of, never in the good way. Oh man. When their stooges listen to this episode, I hope it gets played for somebody important at Anthem. And no, I'm not looking for a job. Don't email me. I don't want a job. I don't want to deal with all of you. I don't want to be around Sami Callihan. I've never met him. I just assume I wouldn't.
So yeah, whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop indeed. Can we punch this up?
Yeah, let's do that.
Can we just punch it? How can we just punch it? Let's just punch it. Yeah. Sell my shit. Go ahead.
All right, so we open up with our recap and ketchup packet. Intro Pyro Ballyhoo, go to the announce table, run down the card for tonight, talk about recent events, give their thoughts. We open it with an in-ring promo of the System and Frankie Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian music and entrance. Kazarian begins to talk about his match with Nick Nemeth later. The System music and entrance. And we have an in-ring version of the backstage segment with Kazarian and the System. Nick Nemeth music and entrance with Ryan. Nick says, why wait till the main event? Santino music and entrance. Santino says that if the System and Kazarian and the Nemeth fight before the main event, the tag team title match is off, and Myers and Edwards will be stripped of the belts. And then the lights begin to flicker, and we go to our first commercial break.
And then this goes so long that we have to cut the entire Khan and Jake something match with Eric Young, right? And we just skip past that, right?
I mean, it's still there, but we're gonna, make it way different than what we did.
Okay, all right, fine.
So we come back from our commercial break. We go backstage to the System's locker room. Santino enters and tells them that they're barred from ringside during the main event. And we go to match number 1, Big Khan versus Jake Something. Big Khan music and entrance, Jake Something music and entrance. Condensed version of the match on the show, but we, actually have Eric Young run in with a weapon and come in on time and not, Bad timing. And then Khan gets stretchered out. It's over. We're done. Goodbye. You're done.
Yeah. Crippling.
Let me go to the recap of PCO and Steph DeLander. Backstage, Gia, Steph DeLander, Zaya Brookside. Same thing we got on the show. Then we go to the Rosemary vignette, same one we got on the show. Then we go to our second commercial break. Come backstage in the Nemeth's locker room. Nick says that if the system or Kazarian try anything during or after the match, they have backup. Match number 2, Giselle Shaw versus Shazza McKenzie. Giselle Shaw music and entrance, Shazza already in the ring. Same matches on the show, except this time Gail Kim comes out to raise Giselle's hands. We go to a replay of the Rascals attacking Macklin and Santana. We go backstage with Santana and Macklin, same thing we got on the show. Then we cut backstage to the Rascals locker room. They respond to Santana and Macklin teaming up against them at Against All Odds. Go to match number 3, Mustafa Ali and Campaign Singh versus Speedball Mountain. Mustafa Ali and Campaign Sing music and entrance, Speedball Mountain music and entrance. And then we just compact this bitch down. It's like putting in a trash compactor. And they go backstage to the Systems locker room. Moose mentions Nick and Ryan saying that they have backup and that if it's Matt Hardy, he's free to beat him again because Santino didn't mention him in the earlier stipulation. And they go to our third commercial break. Come back with match number 4, Jordan Grace versus Allison Kay. Concierge out to introduce Ash by L against Allison Kay. Matt music and entrance, Jordan Grace music and entrance, condensed version of the match on the show. We go to the Death Machine TV vignette, same as on the show. And then we have followed up by a Jonathan Gresham vignette where he references masks once again, and he asks Sammy, "Where's your mask?" And then we go backstage with Spitfire and Tasha Steelz. Jody and Danny talk about Danny's match with Tasha Steelz next week. Tasha enters the shot, and she stirs this pot and the friction that's been building between Jody and Danny the last couple of weeks. We go backstage with Moose. He continues to walk backstage when the lights flicker again, and he hears Matt Hardy's laugh. Go to our fourth commercial break. We come back with a ABC pre-tape. Talk about how they got their tension out of their system, so they need to get back on track. And they talk about their tag match with Nick and Ryan Nemeth next week, as well as their Against All Odds tag team match. And which, as we know, is going to be them against Josh Alexander and Eric Young. We go to a recap of Laredo Kid in First Class. Match number 5, Digital Media Championship with Laredo Kid versus AJ Francis. Same match we got on the show. We go to the Jordan Grace Roxanne Perez package that we got on the show. We go backstage with First Class. They are celebrating AJ Francis's victory. Crazy Steve comes up behind them and says that the Digital Media Championship is still his property and he's going to strike when AJ doesn't see it coming. And then we go to an Alexander Hammerstone package.
Oh, yeah.
And then we go to an interview with Josh Alexander. He talks about his absence from TNA programming in the last few weeks. Mentions his match with Eric Young against ABC at Against All Odds. Talk about recent developments in TNA. The lights flicker, and we hear Matt Hardy's yes. Before we go to our fifth and final commercial break, New Japan hype video. Go to the announce table or the rundown the card for next week, as well as the current Against All Odds card. And then our main event, Frankie Kazarian versus Nick Nemeth, condensed version of the match on the show. And then we have the same finish that we got on the show, except that we actually see the whole thing.
Yeah. And he doesn't pull his tights up.
Right.
That was just the one time I sent you. It happened several times during the match. There was one time when he was just laying on the mat selling and everything looked perfectly normal. And for some reason, he just reached down to his tights and like slightly pulled them up like a half of 1 millimeter. Like he just couldn't help it. I don't know. He thought his fat stomach might have been peeking out, so he had to cover it up with his, I don't know what he was thinking. Well, there you have it. There you have it, guys. A punched up version. Did we lose Rosemary's vignette in that, or did you say it? I forgot.
I think it was in there. Let me double check. I know I'm pretty sure I put it in there. I moved it to like pretty earlier in the show.
Well, I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay. All right. Then we got it all. We got it all and more. We got more stuff in. We got more stuff in, and it was the same show, and it ran on time in this alternate universe. Uh, so yeah. Well, there you have it. There you have it, Stooges. A template. Try to work from it. But I think we've given them enough, free content for one night. And as much as I love the C in the VBC, we can let them get back to their evening tonight. We thank you for joining us. And if you'd like to join us anywhere else, this is where you can do it. Brandon, you first.
You can find me on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, I've actually finally went and changed it. It is now at LG Brandon Whoop.
LG Brandon Whoop. That's right. The rebranding that's been in the works.
Yep.
It's here.
And Twitch is still currently twitch.tv/Miss Tia the Transarchist, but that will be changing soon as well once I get all everything I need put together for that. And that's going to be a bit of a project. I'm not sure how long that's going to be. And then, as always, I'm also on Substack at HMG Brandon. And I also do watch-alongs throughout the week on the Hami Media Group YouTube channel. This week, we'll be doing AEW and SmackDown. Of course, Ben's been available to do those, so we've been kind of shifting over to the twitch.tv/Hami Media channel for those on Friday nights. But, as always, if he's not able to make it, I'm more than ready to pick up that torch and keep it lit.
That's right. And he also did a Battleground watch-along, right? What did you think of the overall show?
It was not a bad show. Like, the one match I thought was going to be like a potential disaster, they kept it relatively tame.
I assume that would have been the women's ladder match.
Yep, like the most dangerous spot was the part where all the girls threw like Lash onto that ladder. But other than that, they kept it pretty safe.
Yeah.
Relatively, I should say.
Well, I made a note, and I'll say it again on Next Level Wrestling Review, but I would rather take that bump that Lash took like 10 times than any one of those times when they pulled one of the girls off the ladder by the leg and they had to like jump backwards and land in the ring.
Yeah,
that is way more dangerous than it looks. We take it for granted because we see it all the time, but that is the spot that is absolutely the most dangerous. Like, anytime you're jumping down backwards, like from a height, and you can't see where you're going exactly, or even if you can, anybody that like maybe you work in a place that uses like little step ladders and stuff, and if you've ever like been going down the ladder and like missed a step on the ladder and you're like, oh shit, like, because you could blow out your knee, you could roll your ankle, there's like so many things that can go wrong with that. I'd rather just get thrown onto a ladder, to be honest.
Right. And at least in that spot, Lash had like 4 or 5 other girls supporting her, so there's no way it's going to go like she's going to fall over or not hit the mark.
Right. And then when you're flying through the air onto the ladder, you're somewhat in control of your body, somewhat. More so than when you're jumping down. But anyway, yes. So watch along with Brandon whenever he's available. If you just hit that subscribe notification bell, then you'll know whenever HMG goes live with a watch along. So I couldn't be a part of that watch along because I was just I passed out. I could not do it. I was like, I ain't watching that shit. It took me all night to watch because I kept pausing it and doing other things, and it was a relatively short show.
Yeah, it was just under 3 hours.
Yeah, so good job, and you can hear more about that from me on Next Level Wrestling Review, which is with Big Ray Hernandez every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. If you want to hear that Battleground review along with the latest episode of NXT, who knows who might make the crossover next. You'll just have to tune in and find out, and then of course, if you want to look at the Collision side of things, we were going to have Brandon join us on the wreckage, but unfortunately he had to work. But you had some positive things to say about Collision. none of it could have been about the content. It all had to be about the formatting and the angles and stuff, not the actual matches and wrestlers. Because I was just like watching that show, like in my a la carte analogy, I was starving. They kept serving me up like tiny morsels of food on these lovely plates with a lot of garnish, and I went home hungry. But if you want to hear us talk about that, then you'll just listen to the latest episode of The Wreckage, and you could join us live every Sunday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. We had the Professor Chabelo Veracruz joined us, and we had a grand old time yucking it up. So we did the best we could to make content out of nothing. That's what we do here at HMG, if anything. We try to give you a show even if they don't. If I can refer you back to our month of recap shows, month of clip shows. I hope
that was
I
like
hope
that was
you
like
were
2
entertained.
3 it was like 2 or 3 months.
Yes, it was a long time. That was their holiday gift to you, and it was our holiday gift to try to, re-gift that and jazz it up a bit. So that's where you could find me, of course, in addition to @OpinionHaver on all your social media platforms. So that's where you can find me if you care. And if you want to find somebody else besides me, I would point you to perhaps a Rip Rogers over on Wrestling with Rip Rogers, live or live, every Friday at their concrete time of 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Von Lilas and Rip are always going over news, arguing, having technical difficulties, and above all, answering your questions. So if you want to ask a question, be part of the show, get an answer, then that's the place to do it. It's on YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything but time, so check that out. And then, of course, Stevie Richards, still making lots of content, still doing his thing. He's all over the place. He just put out a video reviewing the Chuck Norris Total Gym. And his thoughts on that, I need to watch that video because I'm thinking about getting a Total Gym. Stevie has inspired me to look into getting a Total Gym. So if that's the thing for me, he'll let me know. And he'll let you guys know. And he's got a bunch of channels that'll let you know things. So follow Stevie Richards with all of his different outlets. There's too many to list. And also I don't remember them all. But he's an easy person to find as a public figure. So with that being said, I think that's everything you guys need to know for now. You know where to find us. You know where to find not us. So for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.